Since I first came to this ground as a kid, certain moments stick out. At first sight, those breathless last-minute celebrations of victory en route to a final. The theatre of dreams, Sir Bobby Charlton said. Well, that much is true. But there are those moments that are less breathless, less obviously joyful, but which bring the greatest pride. I mean those days where you see a young lad from Manchester's dream come true. We walk past the statues, we recall the glory, but there's more. There's a scarlet thread here. It's not hidden then, it's in plain sight. With Garnacho, Toon, Rashford, Beckham, Whiteside, Best, Charlton, and it's what makes this club unique. The Academy, founded for Manchester kids, but now with a global footprint. Not merely a tradition, nor just a blueprint for success, an unwavering, unbroken commitment to youth. With this series, it's my mission to uncover how the Academy's enduring impact flows right through this club, and exactly how this incredible institution works. We explore the history and culture, follow the next generation as they're educated on and off the pitch, and we hear from those who have gone before. We go behind the scenes and find out what makes this place feel like home. This is the story of Manchester United's famous academy. It's Lifeblood. Over 90 years of history, and some things never change. Another journey begins.
Bueno, pues es increíble, ¿no? Yo siempre cuando era pequeño iba a los estadios, siempre me ha gustado ver fútbol con mi padre y bueno, pues escuchar a un estadio entero cantar tu nombre en un club como es el Manchester United, pues no parece como si fuese real, ¿no? Sí, he tenido momentos bonitos en el club, pero bueno, nunca se me va a olvidar y para mí siempre va a ser el más importante, el día que debuté, el primer día que me dieron la oportunidad. Y bueno, siempre voy a estar agradecido con el entrenador y con el club y fue un momento para mí más bonito de mi carrera. No, sí, un club pues como el Manchester, que es un club histórico, que para mí es de los más grandes y con jugadores que ha tenido en el pasado que son increíbles, bueno, pues es un sueño para mí poder jugar aquí.
Behind every journey like Garnacho's is a story, and this story goes all the way back to 1931. So where did it all start? Well, with a Christmas turkey, sort of. Manchester United faced financial ruin, unable even to provide Christmas turkeys for its staff and its players. James W. Gibson, a wealthy local uniform manufacturer and sports enthusiast, stepped in to rescue the club. Within 100 days, he laid down the cornerstone of the modern Manchester United: youth. At a directors' meeting in late March 1932, Gibson discussed the advisability of running a Colts team, or nursery, as from next season. The matter was left in club secretary Walter Crickmer's hands, and the A-team was born, marking the beginning of youth development at United. It was a success, but not quite enough. It was a youth team, not an academy. So, 6 years later, Mujak was born. Mujak was created so that none of Manchester and Salford's most promising players' talent would be wasted. It was a sensation, with hundreds of aspiring young players whittled down to 30 at trials at the new Cliff training ground in August 1938. With the help of local teachers, priests, lads club leaders and anyone else, Chief Scout Louis Rocker and Crickmer had gathered the finest young Mancunian footballers. Despite the outbreak of war in 1939 then, United's commitment to youth development persisted. Even as Old Trafford was destroyed by a stray Luftwaffe bomb, Crickmer restarted the A-team and the Mujaks. To do so, he collaborated with a set of United mad brothers, local fruit sellers called the Goslings. United funded the brothers and sent them players to train, and they coached and handled the administration. So it was, in 1945, a fresh-faced Sergeant Major Matt Busby arrived. On the face of it, he inherited a club with almost nothing. But underneath the surface, Crickmer had prepared something wonderful for his successor. And it was then, in 1945, that the baton was passed on. With Busby's touch of genius and the arrival of Jimmy Murphy, United finished second in the league 2 years on the bounce and then won the FA Cup in 1948. That triumphant 48 team was filled with lads who came through the patchwork youth system just before or during the war. The foundational work of Gibson, Crickmer and Rocker enabled Busby and Murphy's genius to guide United to a first major trophy since 1911, and a title soon followed. To find out more, I need to meet a man passing on that baton himself these days, who even worked with Jimmy Murphy firsthand, the Academy's very own Tony Whelan.
Harry, good to see you. Nice to see you.
Tony. Jimmy Murphy, a man you played under as a player and I think look up to as a coach and a motivator and an inspirator as well. And this area of Old Trafford is pretty special and symbolic because you can tell us this is one of the key areas for the birth of the Babes.
That's right. They trained here. Around the stands, they used to call it, training around the stands. And apparently Jimmy was very, very demanding. In his younger days, I got to know him when he was obviously towards the end of his career. And just to imagine all those players here training, behind Old Trafford, not on grass, like a playground, like a schoolyard, really. Must have been amazing, must have been fantastic. Sir Matt realised that obviously the club didn't have a lot of money, and really the way forward for the club was to recruit young players into the club at a young age, and grow them and develop them, and have a belief and understanding that with the right training and the right background, they could get players that were good enough to play in the first team.
So fast forward to 1957 and United are 5-time FA Youth Cup winners, 2-time title winners and defeated European Cup semi-finalists to Real Madrid in 1958, looking to go that one step further. But of course, Munich happens.
It's beyond belief, really, isn't it? It's beyond belief that it happened, but I think what's really significant, though, is the recovery. It was extraordinary. Probably, unsurpassed, really, in terms of achievement within 10 years. Imagine that. So you lose all your top players, and within 10 years you win the European Cup. It's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, Bobby Charlton's story is one of its own, isn't it? Because he got through all that and goes on to become a World Cup winner and a European Cup winner and European Footballer of the Year, one of Jimmy Murphy's prodigies.
The Academy itself is a tribute
Absolutely.
to those who died at Munich.
Spot on. Absolutely.
And there are physical tributes, like the one that we're walking past now, and we'll stop by here, which was put here in 2008, the Eternal Flame.
And the thing is about the flame is that we'd like to think that the Academy keeps that flame alive. It still shines brightly. The scarlet thread, the lifeblood, yeah, and that's a good word, the lifeblood, because it is the lifeblood of the club. The youth system has been the lifeblood of Manchester United for generations now.
This is the cliff, just under 90 years ago. This was the site of the first trials for the Manchester United Junior Athletic Club, Mujak. It's pretty incredible to walk onto this pitch and picture those days.
It's sacred ground. I always feel I come here like being on a pilgrimage. I come here a lot. And every time I come to the cliff, I have the same feeling. I have the same memory. And it's July 1968, and it's my first day's training. And I'm walking into George Best, Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton, Sir Matt Busby, Jimmy Murphy, club legends. I'm 15. And I look back on it and thinking, that happened to me, a young boy from Manchester, and I came to my local club, and those players were playing at that time. It was a special time with the club. They just won the European Cup. But this place is really, really special, and a massively important part of this club's history and culture. It's the driving force, isn't it? And that was the anchor back in the day. Putting that anchor down and saying, we are here, we've got a youth policy, and we're going to see this thing through. And boy, have they seen it through. And this was revolutionary coming here. It was like the state of the art, this particular building. This is the reception. This dressing room is really, really special. These are the last places that you'd associate with, your George Best, your Bobby Charlton, your Dennis Law at the club.
Yeah.
Getting changed in these two dressing rooms. But then, of course, some years later, you knock it all out and make it into one, and this is where they won the treble from. So it's a great for us in terms of education. That's why we still have players here, because you'd hope that they'd be inspired by playing games here, sitting in this dressing room, hearing the stories about those players and want to follow in their footsteps.
The Academy's proud record continued through the 1970s and 80s with the likes of Sammy McIlroy, Arthur Albiston, Norman Whiteside and Mark Hughes.
We spoke about the Busby revolution earlier. It was more kind of a Ferguson and Eric Harrison rejuvenation, if you like.
I think the wisdom of Sir Alex was that he'd already seen that youth development worked. If you really believed in it and really put your trust in it and had the courage and the bravery to believe in young players, and they had the talent, and he certainly did that. And so in that sense, he was following in the footsteps of Sir Matt, and he had the wisdom to understand that, if it can happen once, it can happen twice.
Solskjaer, Sheringham, Scholes, it's two! Name on the trophy, and the treble looms large.
We've covered every young kid in Manchester, no doubt about that. I mean, I brought Brian Kidd in to do the local scouting, and they brought in people who were United fans. I mean, instead of having 3 or 4 scouts, which I had when I first came, we went up to 20 odds. And it was all hard work, trial and trial and trial.
Okay, Harry, this is was the manager's office.
So Sir Matt and Sir Alex would look out here.
Yeah, I think, Sir Matt retired from here. Everybody was here. In fact, there were so many people here, I remember my first year full time, that we hired Salford's ground and trained there maybe one night a week on a Thursday. Yeah, honestly, that's the way it was. But I mean, fantastic. There's a great feeling about the place and a buzz about the place, and there was always something going on. And again, you didn't go very far to bump into somebody.
And for the Academy, moving to Carrington has offered some other...
Well, I think obviously improved facilities, clearly improved facilities. I mean, from one pitch at the Cliff to what, a dozen pitches or something? So, massive contrast. But I still feel that the Cliff retains a lot of the spirit of the club. I don't see any question about that. Yeah. And I think the secret has been to try and transfer that to Carrington.
So here we are at Carrington. It has been the home of our first team since the early 2000s, and it is one of the venues that we use to deliver the academy programme. Not the sole venue, but definitely our youth teams, our under-21s, this is their base, this is where they go about their daily work, and obviously really closely aligned with the first team and in close proximity in terms of the facilities that we use. This really was, we moved here long before my time, but this, I'm led to believe, was the brainchild of Sir Alex. And much as we have seen wonderful players learn their trade at the Cliff, this place now has a history as well. There will be some significant leaders that probably brought us from the Cliff to Carrington, and the names that would spring to mind there would be Paul McGuinness, Brian McClare would have been a really influential leader, obviously Tony Whelan and Dave Bushell, still members of the team now, but they were really influential in the move. I have Jimmy Murphy's job, right?
Yeah.
That's a great privilege, a little bit of a pressure. Jimmy Murphy was an innovator, Sir Alex was an innovator, Matt Busby was an innovator. So we can't just rest on our laurels and think that just by replicating the things they did, we'll be successful. We've got to do our own version of the work, and we've got to find our own ways of moving the place forward. So the structures of academies have changed as the needs of players have changed. So, you know, departments have grown and lots of support services in terms of athletic development and the psychology and performance analysis. From a staff perspective, this is the hub of the academy. All of our staff are based here, much as we may decamp to go and spend time at the cliff. The operation is delivered out of here, all the coaches are based here. This is our academy canteen. In the evenings it will be the youngest players arriving from school to have a jacket potato before they go out to train. In the daytimes, the 18s and 21s maybe eating a little bit more high performance food prepared by our chefs. Follow me, we'll see who's around. I've no idea what to expect. This is the balcony overlooking the indoor pitches. There will be people in here, I'm sure, meeting space. There you go. Hard at work, sorry to embarrass you. There they go. Sophie, James, emerging talent staff working hard. This is our youth development phase office. This is my office. So this is where I'll spend a lot of time planning and preparing to make sure that we deliver the right programme. In terms of the present day, the facility now not only caters for our first team, our 18s and 21s, but obviously all of the younger academy teams spend a little bit of time here, right the way from our pre-academy and our first official group at under 9s. But of course, the most recent iteration of the training ground is that our women's team have joined us in recent seasons, and the fact that we can have first team, academy and women's team all on one site brings about an amazing opportunity for the staff to share ideas, share knowledge and learn from each other. So this is obviously the latest addition to the training ground. This new building's been open maybe only for a couple of months, and it's a facility for the academy in terms of office space and the gym. But as I mentioned before, our women's team now have a permanent home here at Carrington as well. So we're quite excited about the opportunities this building brings for us. Anybody in? Oh, we got a few. Got a Nick and a Ben. Sorry, I'm doing a tour on camera just to check out how hard people are working. Maybe take that off your screen so people don't know who we're trying to sign. So Bobby, a nice reminder there of the fact that we're actually into our 91st year of youth development now. But 90 years, and some famous quotes. They're good enough, they're old enough. Little reference to the class of 92 on this wall. Words of wisdom from Sir Alex on this wall. And then as we get through these doors, just before our coaching staff head into their office, there's a nice reminder of our association with the Youth Cup. This is a montage of the rounds that we went through with our most recent win. And as the staff come out of the door here, here's some stats around the Youth Cup in terms of the amount of wins and the record victories, etc. We're here to develop individuals, we're here to prepare individuals for first team football. But if you have got good players and you've got a good programme and you nurture players properly, the byproduct should be winning trophies. So there is significance in winning, and we want our kids to be winners because that's what this club is all about. But for us, the Youth Cup probably has greater context because we were the winners of the first 5 Youth Cups, and Jimmy Murphy was the coach of those teams in the 50s. and all of our great players have probably got a story to tell about the Youth Cup. So there is an additional pressure, which is that historical pressure of, again, our boys, when they play in the Youth Cup, know that they are fighting for a trophy that has been held by legends.
One player with his own story to tell is one of the standout performers from the class of 22. Do you remember the first time you came out at Old Trafford? That first kind of magical moment, how did you feel then?
Sí, la primera vez que jugué en Old Trafford creo que había 5.000 personas, no era mucho, pero para mí es como si estuviera lleno, ver el estadio, jugar dentro, siempre había soñado con eso. Y bueno, meter ese gol pues fue increíble ya, increíble.
Alejandro Garnacho, take a bow on the grandest stage of all.
So can we talk about the final itself? Is that the most magical game of your career?
Porque bueno, fue la final, como había dicho antes, 11 años sin ganarla y un estadio lleno viendo a niños jugar. Y para mí fue increíble que la gente venga a apoyarnos. Y bueno, pude ayudar al equipo, hice 2 goles y conseguimos ganar. Y sí, fue un momento muy bonito y de los más importantes también desde que llegué al club. Sí, han pasado 2 años ya, pero lo veo los vídeos y me recuerda como si fuera ayer, ahí en Old Trafford, donde jugamos todos los fines de semana y bueno, es como nunca se me va a olvidar, siempre va a estar ahí.
Old Trafford, congratulations to the winners of the 2022 FA Youth Cup, Manchester United!
Looking back at these memories now must be particularly special because now in the first team it's not just you who's made it, you've got Kobe and Dan as well.
Sí, es increíble, ¿no? También jugadores como ha dicho Kobe, ahora con nosotros, Dan ha debutado esta temporada, Charlie también debutó, pues al final éramos una muy buena generación y se ha demostrado y bueno, estoy muy orgulloso también de ellos.
And what do you think about the suits, part of the tradition of Manchester United, the suits before the match? How do they make you feel when you're playing in the Youth Cup?
Sí, te ponen ese traje y bueno, te sientes más profesional, ¿no? Realmente, aún éramos, bueno, y somos niños, pero ves el ambiente, ves el estadio, ves todo y te sientes mucho más futbolista.
And what does that say about the connection here at United, a traditional connection between the academy, between the youth and between the first team and the rest of the club?
Bueno, yo el primer día que fui a entrenar y sobre todo los primeros meses con el primer equipo, sí es verdad que yo estaba más tímido, no es lo mismo que ahora, pero a mí siempre me han ayudado desde el primer día, jugadores capitanes como Bruno, jugadores como Maguire, siempre me han apoyado, me han ayudado en lo que sea y bueno, siempre también estoy agradecido. Con ellos no es fácil para un joven subir al primer equipo, con futbolistas que ya son gente mayor y que ya son profesionales, pero siempre me han ayudado, así que estoy muy agradecido también con ellos.
I talk all the time, don't I, that winning the Youth Cup is not our purpose, but it's lovely when it happens, but it's quite a nice reference point because you know, youth Cup winning teams have usually got players that go on to graduate, so we do reflect on where we've come from, and it's about an opportunity to educate the boys on some of the people that have come before them, and the Blazers really are a recognition or a tip of the cap to all those people. So absolutely we arrived to most of our games actually, the 18s and 21s, but particularly Youth Cup night with the Blazers, with the club crest. It's a tribute to those great people. It's a reminder to the boys of the fact they're writing a chapter of the most amazing book.
I think as you go on throughout football, you're obviously always going to get nervous for games, but your nerves kind of turn into excitement because you get to a certain point in your young career where you know what you can deliver and you know that you can do it. You're obviously always learning and stuff, but like I say, you get to a certain point where you know what you can do. And experiences like this at a young age, there isn't a lot of 18-year-olds that play at Old Trafford under the lights, even in front of any crowd. So once you get a couple of those games under your belt, it really does massively help you for your career going on forward for however many years to come, and you just relish it, really.
You can say it's nothing different to any game they play at weekend, whether it be at Carrington or at Finch Farm on Saturday. Obviously this is something massively different, but if your mindset's similar to what it is on the weekend, I don't think it would affect you as much, or maybe you think it would have, just routines before the game, whether it's listening to music, talking to your mate, isolate yourself when you come out to check the pitch before the game. Just all different routines, really.
Obviously this club has got a, unrivaled relationship with the FA Youth Cup in terms of number of times they've won the competition, but just the real belief towards sort of youth development. So yeah, naturally really excited about the game and being involved in the competition. I think it's important for us to understand that it's not the main importance of the programme, but it is a special part of it, and a lot of players in their youth team will remember their memories of playing in the FA Youth Cup, under lights, etc. And again, amazing that we're able to play the game at Old Trafford, so that gives it that extra feel to it, which is special for all of us.
The latest Manchester United class in the Youth Cup emerge from the tunnel.
Trying to bridge the gap between youth team football and the first team. So how do we start to expose the boys to all the stresses and challenges that they might face in future? You'll know from watching the game today, felt really different from a home game at Carrington where there's not a many spectators, the TV cameras are quite as obvious. The media ripple this week around this competition because of the history and our connection with the competition over the years, it all plays a part, and some of the boys will be nervous, some of the boys have been dreaming about this for a while. But it's great. We love to see the boys under pressure. We love to see the boys stretched. I actually get a bit worried about teams that win every week and teams that find it comfortable. It means we haven't found them an appropriate challenge point. Tonight was a stretch. They found it difficult. They found it hard, and they'll have done a serious amount of learning. But our youth programme means more of this football club than it does any other football club because of what we've been through, and we've seen young players support this club through the dark days, and we've seen young players at the heart of our best days. The fans have an extra affection for this, and that actually is really prominent in the players' minds. We educate them about it, but it's impossible, on a night like this, not to be fully aware of the footsteps that you're following in.
It's a big competition, we know that, it's big to the club, and to score at the Stretford end at Old Trafford, it's a huge honour for me, and even to play the Garnet, so I'm really happy.
Yeah, especially the team that won it a couple of seasons ago, following on from them, following in their footsteps, winning at Old Trafford. Good for the team and good for the mindset for everyone.
Some of the players, this will be the first of many times that they play here, and the experience they've had tonight is going to prepare them. We've seen that, haven't we, with the likes of Dan Gore, Kobe Mainu, Alejandro Garnacho 18 months ago in the final. It was very soon after that they were attempting to face some of the same challenges for the first team. And for other boys, this will just be a memorable night in their journey, one that they remember forever, one that they tell their kids about. So hopefully all of our boys have taken positive experience out of what's gone on today.
The journey, it's a big thing. You know, we've all got our stories and backgrounds, and obviously it's big to actually get to a stage, such a big stage, and end up playing on there. So yeah, as I've said, it's a huge honour.